The grieving process, coping with loss. Loss is simply a part of life. A few months ago, I experienced the passing of my father. It's a huge loss. He was a wonderful man, an incredibly dedicated husband and father. I loved him a lot. How do we cope with things like this? The death of a loved one, the loss of a job that you love, a breakup, a divorce. How do we cope with things in a way that allows us to grow through them instead of just go through them? That's what we're going to talk about today. But first, I'd like for you, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and the little bell so that you get notifications when we drop videos like this to help you live a better life. All right, we're going to talk about the myths of the grieving process and how you can grieve in a healthy way that can help you see the light of a hopeful tomorrow in just a second.
GILD Coaching. More success, less stress.
We all face grief and loss at some point in our life, whether it's someone being mean to us on the playground when we're in kindergarten and we've lost a friend, all the way up to not getting into the college that we want, or not having the relationship end up coming to the fulfillment that we want, or losing a parent like I just told you I've recently experienced. We all have these losses throughout our life. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about common myths of grief. I'll tell you the truth, the facts about that grief, and then what you can do about it. The first myth is that the pain will go away faster if you just ignore it. If you pour yourself into your work, if you pour yourself into your hobbies, if you find different things to do, going out with friends, keeping yourself busy, video games, movies, whatever, if you distract your brain and ignore what's going on, the grief will go away faster. That's not true. The fact is, you can process your grief. Your grief isn't going to go away. You don't want it to go away because you need to deal with this thing that has happened in your life, to you, about you, or around you. So what you have to do is you have to face it, think about it, and recognize it. Now, here's where most people go wrong. This is the what do I do part of all of this. Many people will think about it and they'll stew on it and they'll talk about what should have happened, what could have happened, what if they could have done something. All of these are not helping you to get past your grief. All of these put you into a victim seat or a villain seat, because if you say, oh, what if I had only then that is you accepting responsibility for whatever it is, the thing that has happened. Instead, recognize that has happened. Understand that you are where you are in this moment, and nothing can change where you are in this moment. Recognize it, respect your needs. If you're dealing with the loss of a loved one, if you're dealing with the loss of a career, of a marriage, anything like that, give yourself time to recover. You're going to need more sleep. Make sure that you're having enough water. We all need water to live. I've talked about water a lot. You know, that's very important. And make sure that you're getting exercise. When we're feeling down, when we have the blues, when we feel as though there's a depression on us, the last thing we want to do is get out there and go for a brisk walk or do a cardio exercise or anything like that. But that's exactly what we need to do. While you're doing these exercises, you are actually increasing some of the positive hormones in your body that can help you to process this grief. It doesn't make it go away, but it processes it. Think about it like this. If I have a small cup of white paint and I grab a little dropper and I put some red paint in it and I mix it around, the paint, the white paint, can never go back to how it was before because something has happened to it. But it can, through processing over time, become the new version of itself after this thing happened. And that is what you are working to do. When you're not ignoring your grief, you're not wallowing in your grief, but instead you're recognizing it and respecting the process that you're going through. Another myth about grief is that it's important to be strong. Be strong for the people around you. Be strong for yourself. It will help you. That's actually not true. If you're trying to be something, that means that you're not allowing your authentic self to go through. There's no weakness in crying. There's no weakness in going through pain. It's part of human life. So, like I said just a moment ago, you have to recognize it and respect it. There's actually real strength in expressing your grief, your loss, your feelings to people who care about you. Now, you need to make sure that you're not doing so in such a way that's overloading them. However, talking to them about it once, letting them know what's going on in your life, and letting them know that if you seem a little off, if your energy is a little different than it normally is, it's because you're dealing with this trauma of loss. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, the thing that people do get wrong is they just talk about everything that happened in the past. They don't understand why this could happen to them. Why did this happen to them? What if they had done something different? And they talk that in circles and circles and circles. And their friends don't know what to do. Their friends don't know what to say. They can't help them because there's no actionable information there. I have a friend who's going through a difficult marital time, and I've offered to help her to grow through this and to become more confident. But she was honest with me, and she said, I don't know if I can do that because she's stuck in this pattern of, why did he do this to me? Well, I don't understand. Why is this happening? And she personally refuses to get out of that pattern. That is really wrong to do that to your friends. That's what a coach, that's what a mentor, and that's what a therapist is for. So if you find yourself in that pattern, you need to go to a professional who has the skills, the abilities, and the heart to help you through this, because that's not the role of your friends. So don't try to be strong. Don't try to put up a front for everyone. Deal with it in an appropriate way. Express your feelings. And if you either don't feel right talking to your friends about it, or you feel as though you may abuse that openness and that love from your friend, please do seek out a coach, mentor. You can come to us. Our contact information is in the video description here, or you can go to someone else who you trust. But don't just try to put on a strong face. Deal with it so that you can grow through it. Another myth is that grieving for the death of a loved one or any other loss should last about a year. There's no set time period. My mother left this world 10.5 years ago, and there are still times when I feel deep grief and loss for her. And I have to recognize that moment. I have to respect it. And then I have to help myself work through it. There's no set grieving period. I've noticed, and was just speaking the other day with someone, that when you do lose someone who's close to you when they pass on from this life, there's a whole lot of action that happens right around that passing on period. Lots of flowers, lots of food, offerings, love, and then about 30 to 60 days later, it gets real quiet. And that's really when the loneliness seeps in. Understand that. Express to your friends, to your coach, to your counselor, to your mentor, I'm still feeling very sad, and I would love for you to help me process through this. Because the grief process doesn't just last 30 days or 60 days or 365 days. The grief process lasts for you as long as that particular grief process needs to last for you. Having experienced the passing on of both of my parents, my mother in 2010 and my father in 2020, I can tell you that those two, even though they were both my parents, they both loved me. They were married for until they passed away. So I experienced a two-parent household. I can tell you that my grief process for those two people who held similar roles in my life, father and mother, was very, very different. My grieving process for my mother was much longer. It was the first time I had lost a parent. I was much closer with her. She was a dear friend of mine than I was my dad. I was close with my dad, but not in the same way. And she was much, much younger. She was in her 60s. And so there were different elements there. And so my grieving process there was much different. It was much longer for me than it is for my father. My father passed away on December 1st, 2020, and it has been a more gentle and more evolved grieving process. I'm farther in my spiritual journey than I was before. And so I'm not going to say that that grieving process is shorter or longer, really. I mean, I believe that my grieving process was heavier and a bit longer for my mom. But my grieving process for my father is simply different. He was different. He was in his 90s, life well lived, wasn't shocking, wasn't a shock that came to anyone, was expected. But even those expected losses still leave a grief period. So you have to give yourself time to process each grieving point the way that your body needs to process each grieving point, and don't make apologies to anyone for it. And the last myth we're going to talk about today is that moving on means that you no longer care. That couldn't be farther from the truth. A dear friend of mine several years ago lost her adult son to suicide, and it has destroyed her. She's stopped communicating with her friends. She has changed her relationship with people in her family, and it has really changed the shape of her life overall. She is no longer the person that we knew. She's memorialized this person, and to lose a child is an indescribable grief and yearning that I can't even sympathize with because I've never been through it. But it is a loss. It is a loss of a family member, and it's different when it is your very own child. However, she believes through her actions that if she moves on from this, that she somehow is not honoring his memory, or that she somehow doesn't love him anymore. That couldn't be farther from the truth. The best way for you to honor the love that you had for this person, place, thing, whatever it is that you have lost, is to take what you learned there, take the experiences from that, recognize that they've changed you, just like my white paint with a little bit of red paint analogy just a moment ago. Recognize that you have been changed into something new because of this experience, and then see where that change can take you. See how that change can help you elevate your life and help you to contribute more to the world around you. The truth of it is, not moving on means that you're not respecting, appreciating, and truly loving that which you now perceive that you have lost. Grief is never easy, and if you would like to speak with someone about it, please look in the video description and you'll find a link to schedule an appointment with me, because I am here for you. If this video has helped you at all, please give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so that you'll know the next time that we drop a video to help you live a happier life with more fulfillment, more success, and more of all of the good things that you truly deserve, and you have our blessings as you face this period of grief.